Since the beginning of time, a desire to push the limits of the human body and spirit has coursed through our veins. And those bold enough to conquer the seemingly impossible blaze a trail for those to follow, will in the process forge a legacy. Today, among skyscraping peaks, Spartans gather for the culmination of the first ever Spartan US Championship Series. For some, it is the end of an epic journey, an opportunity to define a new breed of champion and set the course for generations to come. It is a lesson in overcoming adversity as a bond is strengthened between a father and son. Today, champions will be crowned, history will be made, and a legacy will be born. This is the final race of the 2016 US Championship Series. This is the Spartan Summit.
Today, history will be made right here in Breckenridge, Colorado. This is the final race in the Spartan Race US Championship Series, the first ever obstacle course racing championship series of its kind. Today's Spartan Beast course is over 13 miles long and will take racers to an altitude of almost 12,000 feet. And that altitude is going to have a huge impact on how this race plays out today.
The 2016 Reebok Spartan US Championship Series has set a new precedent in what is known as the fastest growing sport in the world, obstacle course racing.
The US Championship Series has been very competitive and demanding. Every race takes everything out of you.
We've got 5 races to test somebody over multiple distances, tons of different terrains, altitudes. An athlete has to train and be ready year-round.
We've never seen such a high level of consistent racing in the sport.
We're pitting the best athletes in OCR against each other. We're out there battling as hard as we can to try to claim that first ever title.
In Spartan's elite women's field, Canadian racer Lindsay Webster consistently dominated the series, sweeping the first 4 races and officially locking up the title in Asheville, North Carolina.
Today's winner, Lindsay Webster.
Fellow Canadian racer Faye Stenning has secured 2nd place in the series, leaving 3rd place up for grabs entering today's race. For Spartan's elite men, 3 titans of the sport have consistently set the bar in a highly competitive field. After winning the first 3 races, Ryan Atkins holds the upper hand over Hunter McIntyre and Robert Killian, entering today's decisive race.
Robert Killian!
Coming into the last race of the series, I'm super pumped. I have the opportunity to go out and potentially win this thing, but of course it's gonna be absolutely brutal. It's gonna take the race of my life.
When you come into a race like this, you just have to really be prepared. You figure an Olympian has to train for 4 years for one chance. You know, I had to make those sacrifices too. I had to put that same kind of priority on this race. Beating Atkins, I think about it every day, but standing on top of a podium, that's the only truth at the end of the day.
Located along the steep ridges of the Colorado Rockies, a breathtaking 10,000 feet above sea level, today's demanding Breckenridge Beast course will be savage, punishing, and fierce. Today's 13.4-mile journey begins with a long and agonizing climb towards a series of grip and strength-based obstacles. From there, racers will continue their trek to the mountain summit, intensified by several steep ascents, descents, and 30 back-breaking obstacles, guaranteed to leave even the most well-trained Spartans gasping for air as they wind their way through one of the toughest courses in Spartan history. Through the crisp Colorado air, the elite men are summoned to the start line.
All right, gentlemen, it's time to kick off the final race of your 2016 Summit Championship Series.
Amongst amongst a crowd of OCR pioneers is Mexican elite racer Angel Quintero, 2013 world champ Podium, 2015 world champ Robert Killian, Macho Man Hunter McIntyre, and the racer with the biggest target on his back, Ryan Atkins. For Ryan, today's race is an opportunity to leave behind the critical misstep that cost him clinching the title in the previous race. By utilizing a Zen racing strategy perfected after years of competing on Canada's national mountain biking team.
I think that racing under pressure is a skill that you have to hone, and I think I've become really good at getting into that zone. When I'm at the start line, I try to shut out all external noise, find my center and my core, and prepare for the battle. It's just complete blankness. The quieter I can make it for the start, the louder I can make my performance.
Are you ready?
Out of the gates, a stampede of elite men attacked the first ascent at a ferocious pace, leaving Hunter McIntyre wary of the ravenous herd, eager to snatch away his series title dreams.
This race started out as a savage sprint up the mountain. I'm this water buffalo who's charging. I look behind me and it's just this pack of angry, hungry mountain goats of men just chasing me down. It was a different kind of feel than any other race. Series has brought all the guys out of the woodwork. Seeing freak show trail runners, guys who have been contenders for 5-6 years. Everybody knows where they're sitting in the point series. They're not thinking about the finish line. You could see it in everybody's eyes. They've got that million-mile stare, thinking about everything that is involved in that race. Right from the start, it was like all or nothing kind of race.
The race for the first ever men's Spartan US Championship Series title is off to a quick start, but the road ahead will be long and winding, as 12 miles of legendary rocky mountain terrain guarantees to knock the wind out of every racer reaching for the top.
Legacy means leaving a footprint so that someone else can look at it and say, you know what, that person did something amazing.
It's unforgettable. It just carries meaning and carries weight and emotion.
Legacy might be the most important thing out there, to leave this world a better place.
You know, you kind of measure yourself to those legacies and things that people accomplish that almost seem unreal.
Takes diligence, takes focus, takes all your heart.
A legacy in any facet of life is a pretty special thing, something that, you know, lives on beyond you and kind of above you.
One day, my son's gonna look at me, and when I'm gone, my legacy to him will be like, I'm a Spartan. I am a Spartan.
Today's Spartan Summit continues as the elite women begin to make their way to the start line of the final race of the Spartan US Championship Series. Amongst those brave enough to face today's 13-mile beast course is Mexican racer Chikorita Rudunia, race favorite Faye Stenning, Spartan rookie powerhouse Alyssa Hawley, and a very determined Rose Wetzel, who enters today's race focused on wreaking havoc on today's course and her fellow competitors.
Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for these ladies.
Over the course of the series, I've learned that I just have to be the one who wants it the most. I expect this course to be a total beatdown from the very beginning, and the competition will be fierce.
Ladies, are we ready to go?
My goal is to come out fighting harder than I ever have before. All season long, I have been hunting my prey. This is the race I pounce.
Faye Stenning, the distance and altitude of today's Beast course represent uncharted territory.
At the beginning of the race, I was like, okay, it's at altitude and it's longer than any race you've done this year. You don't know what the elevation is going to do to you. You're kind of going into it completely blind, so be cautious, be cautious. But from this series, I've gotten used to what it's like to adapt. You can't predict the race at all. There's definitely going to be some wild cards. I was trying to trust that I was strong and was going to do well, but it was definitely a challenge.
The first epic climb of today's Spartan summit is well underway, as Cody Moat and Robert Killian take the fight into the thin mountain air.
Cody and I are both from high altitude. We both train in the mountains a lot. I think that's why we were able to separate ourselves pretty early. If you're not a really strong climber or you're not used to running at elevation, you'll hit your max heart rate quick, you'll freak out. You gotta just be used to it. At that point, I wanted to separate myself from Ryan and really play toward the advantages of being at altitude. Honestly, just want to let Ryan know that I've been preparing for the long game. Beast course is my playground and I'm ready for this race.
We're at the top of the first climb of the day, 3 miles in, and your leader right now, Cody Moat. Not far behind him, the world champ, Robert Killian, looking very solid. He's been living up here, running these trails every day, and he said his plan was for him and Cody to push early. Right now, the question is, where's our series leader, Ryan Atkins?
Spartan's elite men continue to grind their way through today's ruthless Beast course, with Angel Quintero, Cody Moat, and Robert Killian holding a healthy lead heading into mile 7 and the spear throw.
Cody, Angel, and I, we were all pretty much together. Saw Cody nailed it. And then I saw Angel miss. All right, this is an opportunity. Run a little bit low and to the left. It's frustrating. That was my opportunity to really solidify the championship series. And I knew Cody was gone. He's missed the spear enough to know that when he makes it, he needs to capitalize.
Not far behind, Ryan Atkins enters the spear throw in a surprising 5th place and sets his sights on picking off 4th place series threat, Hunter McIntyre.
Coming into the spear throw, Hunter was just a few steps ahead of me. At that point, I was just kind of hoping that Hunter would miss and that I would make it. The opposite happened. After that, Ryan Wood, Chad Trammell, and Matt all made their spear and then just started skipping on up the mountain. Like, that was really great. I finished my burpees and I knew that this was going to be a hard hour ahead of me.
While Ryan fights to stay in contention for the title, the elite women are in the midst of the painful first ascent of today's race, with Faye Stenning struggling to maintain her grasp on 1st place while dealing with a rocky mountain altitude.
The first mile, I pushed super hard. I put a pretty good gap on the other girls, but I was very uncomfortable. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. The altitude was definitely a challenge, and I was just hoping that I can just keep it together and not fall apart. I was just telling myself, like, yeah, you're winning now, Faye, but, you know, things could change, so keep pushing, keep pushing.
Hot on Faye's heels, Rhodes Wetzel arrives at the log carry in 3rd position, well aware of the risks of going out too hard, too early in a race at this altitude.
So I was basically keeping my sights set on Faye while trying to race as hard as I possibly can without blowing up. It's like just below my red line. Once you start to redline, it's like you have an hourglass that gets flipped over. And it's just a matter of time before your body will completely fall apart. In a really long beast where you're going up and down a mountain and it's at elevation, it's a dangerous game to redline too early. You want to be working as hard as you possibly can while still being able to maintain for the entirety of the race.
While Faye and the elite women set their sights on the mountain's base, waves of open-class racers begin to conquer the merciless Rocky Mountain peaks of Breckenridge. Amongst a crowd of adventurous Spartans is elite men's racer Matt Bear Novakovich and his son Josh.
All right, ready for this? Yeah.
For Bear, today's race is an opportunity to further strengthen his bond with his son after a difficult change in the family dynamic.
In the last year, my family's changed pretty dramatically. 18 years of marriage ended. Divorce is a hard thing, but sometimes being in a situation that we're not happy with is even harder. I have 4 kids total. Josh is the oldest. Telling them and having a conversation open with them is the hardest part. Hey, life as you knew it and life as perhaps as you thought it was going to stay isn't. It's changing. But ultimately, 2 happy homes is better than 1 unhappy home.
Let's see your spear throw. Here it is. Give it to me. All right.
I'd like to assume that I have the closest relationship that anyone could have with their kids. Josh is the oldest. He's got 3 younger sisters. I'm with him at least half the time, and we have a really good time when we're together. We go to church together, we exercise together, and we eat together. I do try to make an effort and really make sure that those moments I'm with them really creating a bond.
Josh, are you up? All right, taxi's here. We gotta go. Spartan race ready, headed to Breckenridge.
Being here in Breckenridge at a Spartan race with Josh is phenomenal. This is a cool bonding moment. I look at the time that I had with my dad when he took me out fishing, took me hunting. It was the time that he spent with me that to this day still is magical. I would describe Josh as super kind. He's honest, he just works hard, and he likes to push himself. And so what he gets out of that is work ethic, discipline, and drive. All the tangibles that make us successful in life. I'm having more fun now watching him than I ever had having success by myself. Standing on the starting line with Josh, well, it's such a moment of pride. This race is an incredible opportunity for us to learn from each other. This is one of the top 5 hardest courses Spartans ever put together. I don't care if he gets first place or 20th place. I want him to see life and learn from me and experience some of the fun things I do and some of the hard things I do and learn and grow.
Follow all the action at Spartan Race and join the conversation using the hashtag Spartan on NBC. The final race of the Reebok Spartan US Championship Series continues to unfold, with Faye Stenning holding a sizable lead into mile 7 of today's Beast course.
In second place, got Faye Stenning.
After 4 consecutive second-place finishes, Faye enters her spear throw, having dominated the race thus far, and is 1 step closer to finally reaching the podium's highest spot.
Coming into the spear throw was when I was like, holy smokes, I could win this thing. Missed it. It's stressful, but everything sort of changed in obstacle course racing for me this year. I left work for 4 months and I'm training 3 times a day, and when I'm not training, I'm eating and sleeping, and that's pretty much all I do. I think more than physically, it's changed me mentally, and when I'm just suffering, I've learned to just shut off my brain. If I'm having a bad race, I can, change my mindset and overcome that and come out stronger.
While Faye fights to keep her head in the game and the approaching elite women at bay, Cody Moat leads Spartan's elite men to the mountain's peak, where they'll face one of the longest sandbag carries in the history of Spartan race.
We are 9 miles into the race, and our leader, Cody Moe, the 2013 world champ, looking very strong as he heads up this nasty climb. And not far behind him, we have a massive battle for second position right now. Angel Quintero out of Mexico, just steps ahead of the world champ Robert Killian, who's managed to claw his way back into this race. Either of these men could still find a way to catch first place Cody Moe and steal this race, but right now they are deadlocked.
It's the longest climb I've ever seen a Spartan race. I knew it was going to be brutal. I thought I would be able to make up a little ground on Cody, and ended up just being a dogfight between Angel and I. We've already done 8 miles, over 10,000 feet above sea level. Your legs are screaming, your shoulders are burning, your arms are burning. It's incredibly hard. It takes everything that you have to just keep going. Also, I'm thinking in my mind, Ryan and Hunter were great at carries, so I don't have that big of a lead on these guys.
We get to the sandbag carry, feeling like crap. And I'm doing everything I can to ignore the fact that I got a 100-pound sandbag on my back, that I still have to climb 200 meters up into the sky. I'm literally taking every strategy I've ever had to get away from the suffering. And there's an angry bulldog from Canada, he's trying to catch me.
Our series leader, Ryan Atkins, who sits now in 8th position. This position opens this up for anybody to take this series, and if he wants to hold on to this series championship, he's gonna have to step up and pass a few men over the next few miles.
At the sandbag carry, you can just see this line of people. It was just a death march. Yeah, I knew everyone was gonna be hurting at that point, and I really wanted to use that to throw in a big attack. I was hurting at that point, but then I was able to run the descent with the sandbag pretty effectively. I passed 4 guys. I was like, throw some more coal on the fire.
While Ryan stokes the fires of his podium dreams, OCR icon Matt Bear Novakovich and his son Josh continue to grind their way through the thin mountain air, intent on taking on today's Beast course with courage and conviction.
We've been running for about 2 minutes and the altitude hit us. Josh looked at me like, you gotta be kidding me, how much further is this? And it's kind of like, I don't know, 14.4 miles. So as we're grinding up a hill, and I look up and I see the logs, and I'm thinking, these things are huge. I said, Josh, do you want to consider like maybe carrying a smaller one? And he's like, no, I want to see if I can get the whole course, doing all the men's weights.
Keep grinding. We got these things for a while.
We got the gnarly one, and it was heavy, and we grinded through that log together, and it was pretty awe-inspiring watching him just truck through it.
I was nervous about the elevation. It's hard to take a full breath. It definitely is scary not to be able to breathe. I pushed through the fear, just doing what I've always done. Be strong, but mind over matter.
Josh is a trooper. I sometimes hear people say to him, how old are you? He'll say 16. He'll say, what? They're insinuating that he's small, and I think if they only knew how big he really is when it comes to what really matters in life, and that's accomplishing things. When I look at him and compare him to a mountain, I don't see the size of the mountain or the size of the obstacle and think, Josh can't do it because he's too small. I look at these obstacles and think, this is the kind of person that accomplishes these crazy things. Josh is just a grinder and a go-getter. It's pretty amazing to see the kind of spirit he has.
There you go. Bam!
Yeah! Good job!
Today's Spartan race is full throttle, as Faye Stenning holds a commanding lead with only 4 miles standing between her and her first place finish of the series. Not far behind, Rose Wetzel arrives in 2nd place, hoping the altitude will finally put the brakes on Faye's ascent to the top of the podium.
Seeing Faye, the sandbag carry, was encouraging. She's still ahead of me, but not by much, and she has to be tired from doing burpees. I thought I smelt blood. I thought I sensed some fear in Faye, but she seemed to really hold her own. Faye seems to have a gift for being able to run at an incredibly high heart rate without blowing up. That's pretty impressive. She'll be like heaving, and I'm thinking to myself, she sounds terrible. She's gonna blow up any minute, and then she doesn't. At some point I passed her on the downhill, and then turned around and saw Alyssa. And I know that she's very strong. I knew there was a bucket carry coming, and she is like bucket carry queen. So I remember thinking to myself, you have to get to that bucket carry before her.
While the elite women set their sights on the mountain's base, Cody Moat leads Spartan's elite men into the bucket brigade and the final 3 miles of the Spartan US Championship Series.
Jump, jump!
Not far behind, Robert Killian arrives hell-bent on overtaking Mexican elite racer Angel Quintero and improving his chance of taking home the title.
So we get to the bucket and I'm like, all right, this is where I'm going to put my move on Angel. There aren't a lot of obstacles left. I have to make a move right now. I just want to break him right here. I'm going to run the entire bucket. So I took off. I don't know how I find that energy at the end of the race. Like, it just kind of comes. I think it's being able to feed off of when I know other people are struggling. I feel like I can attack at that point.
Now in 4th, Hunter McIntyre arrives at the bucket brigade with an unexpected yet familiar foe breathing down his neck.
At this point, Atkins, I think, is in maybe 7th, 8th, or 9th place. That is a beautiful place for him to be and a great place for me to be sitting around 4th. I think I'm in a good place, and then all of a sudden, I hear that powerful set of lungs behind me again, and I turn around and it's Atkins. He somehow just took this pack of thoroughbred Spartan racers who had maybe 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes on them, and he just decimated that. He evaporated it. I think to myself right there, what the The last mile, I was really suffering. But at the same time, I knew how close I was to the finish line. It was almost like these shackles had kind of broken from my body. I was able to withstand the pain at a greater threshold. I just pushed.
Let's go, Hunter!
Spartan Pro Team member Matt Bear Novakovich and his son Josh continue to power through today's Beast course towards an obstacle that has been proven to be the pinnacle of today's race.
Good job.
The sandbag carry is long and steep today, the longest sandbag ever in the history of Spartan. All you can see going up and going down is masses of people moving so slow. Doing anything at high altitude is extremely hard. So add in a run with a hill, now add a run with a hill and a sandbag, it's even harder. We just kept grinding away. About 3/4 of the way up, we stopped for a split seconds and wow, this is crazy. We were standing there at 10,500 feet up in the air, and I look at the thousands of people, the masses of humanity that want to push themselves. It's easy to not push ourselves. It's easy to just do nothing. But once we start doing things that are hard and challenging, I think these moments start moving into all of the aspects of life. Just determination and pushing through things where you don't know what's around the corner next. I think there's a lot to be learned during those moments. I thought, this is a pretty cool, euphoric reward for a father to have my son willing and excited to be here in such an amazing place on earth, doing such a phenomenal activity, and to be there with me.
The Elite Men's Spartan US Championship Series is nearing its dramatic conclusion as Cody Moat leads the charge into the final mile of today's unforgiving race.
12 miles into the race, and your leader, Cody Mote, who has led from start to finish, is coming through. The bags are a little heavy because it's been raining all week long, but Cody does not seem to be having any trouble with it today. Bag is down, he's got 1.5 miles left in the race, and it looks like it's his to lose. In second position, the world champ Robert Killian coming into the Hercules hoist looking strong. The Herc hoist has cost him races. Killian failed it in Asheville just 1 race ago. Robert needs to complete this without any errors, and he could lock up the US Championship Series. But he's only got a small lead over Angel Quintero. If Angel can manage to pass him, it could shake up the standings entirely.
At the Herc hoist, I grabbed the rope. I was like, all right, man, you just need to focus. And whatever you got to do to get this bag to the top, just do it. I got all the way up to the top, and at that point, I saw Angel right there next to me, and I'm like, this is it. I need to turn it on right now. You can't take third place. That's not an option.
Here comes Hunter McIntyre, the 4th racer into the Hercules hoist, with our series leader, Ryan Atkins, not far behind him.
Blazing down these trails. I'm starting to hear the crowd cheering for Cody.
Let's cheer him up, Spartan! And there you have it! Cody Mote!
He's got this thing locked up. I know that there's only a couple obstacles left. I was so scared when I got to the rig. This is the race. Atkins could potentially get 6th right here. You can get 2nd and you can win this thing. You've done what you need to do now. Just relax, compose yourself, and attack.
There he goes, crossing that fire truck. Taking home 2nd place, you got Robert Killian.
I get finished with the race. I see Angel's in 3rd and Hunter coming in 4th. All right, Atkins has to finish 5th in order to win the series.
Nope, Atkins is in 6th. Are you kidding? Come on!
Around the corner comes JP, and I'm like, oh my God, like this is the best case scenario. I still have a shot.
The next group of elites coming through is going to determine who's going to be the overall U.S. champion. Let's cheer him up, Spartan!
I sprayed up to the rig, yelling, come on, man, go! Here comes Atkins. It was the most intense couple seconds I've ever watched in a race.
I was so shattered at that point. When you're just at the brink of your physical ability, it all just comes down to being mentally strong and forces you to either give up or rise to the occasion.
Here it comes, guys. This is the battle right here. Who's going to take home the final championship? And there he comes.
With grit and determination, Canadian elite racer Ryan Atkins overtakes JP Donovan for 5th place and claims the first ever men's Spartan US Championship Series title, just points ahead of Robert Killian in 2nd and Hunter McIntyre in 3rd.
Winning the first ever US Championship Series was just a euphoric feeling, something that I've worked towards for many, many months. And it's really cool to be a part of that and to be battling with all these guys who are just on top of their game. I think that legacies are really cool, and it's really inspiring and humbling to even be mentioned in that context. However, usually when you say legacy, it means it's over, and I'm only just getting started.
Now 11 miles into today's Spartan summit, Faye Stenning holds a sizable lead, heading into yet another strength-based test, standing between her and the win she's been chasing all season long.
At this point, I was still nervous about Alyssa and Rose behind me. Some people, they're in the lead and I look behind them and they're like, oh, I'm safe, I can't see anyone. And that's like the worst thing you can do, because then you start easing off the gas pedal, your effort goes down, and then next thing you know it, someone's closed the gap. I was actually pretending that the guys were girls and I was trying to chase them down just to make sure that my effort was honest and that I was giving it my everything.
Having slowly edged her way towards the front of the pack and into third place, hungry newcomer Alyssa Hawley now looks to take down OCR veteran Rose Wetzel.
I see Rose at the bucket, and I was just like, no way, this is a Rose. Rose is somebody I've always kind of looked up to. She's the face of the female Spartan, and she just doesn't give up. I can kind of see her struggling a little bit, and I'm like, all right, this is my moment. Like, sorry, Rose, like, I really, really admire you, but you gotta go down.
I dumped that bucket, I looked ahead, I still saw Alyssa, so I thought, okay, we're near the end of the race. Faye and Alyssa are not that far ahead of you. You've got to find another gear. You've got to work harder right now. I definitely have two sides. I'm 99% loving and grateful and people loving. And there's also another side of me where I just go into this zone. This beast mode. It's not pretty, but that's how I feel beautiful. I feel beautiful when I'm running hard. When I'm surrounded by like-minded people, giving it their all. I think that the Lindsays and the Fays and the Alyssas were working hard to expand what it means to be a woman. We are strong, confident, fearless, gritty, dirty and muddy, competitive. We see beauty in athleticism and movement and not just conventional beauty.
Let's cheer on Rose.
I think we're on our way to leaving that legacy.
Today's thrilling Spartan Summit comes to a dramatic conclusion, with Faye Stenning leading a fearless group of elite women and finally earning her first place finish of the series, with newcomer Alyssa Hawley grinding her way to second and Rose Wetzel finishing just behind in third. And while the elite women celebrate their hard-earned victories, elite men's racer Matt Bear Novakovich and his 16-year-old son Josh set their sights on the finish line as they continue to slay the beast that has pushed even the strongest of Spartans to their limits.
Coming into the Hercules, Josh is tired. He's been on the course for 4 hours now. He's coming up into it, and I say to him, this is going to be tough for you. This might be the hardest obstacle.
Hang on, don't start yet. You're going to get this.
At that point, he hadn't done a single burpee yet, and he wanted to keep that going. He started working it, and I think he's just too darn light to get it. I helped him a little bit, but it was pretty awesome because he was definitely at full effort. When we got to the top, his hands were done. I think there's a lot to be learned during an obstacle course race. I think I'm on my 65th race now, and there's not that many things that are as hard. Josh ran for almost 4.5 hours today. He climbed 5,000 feet at an altitude that most people can't reach at. He'll reflect back on his life as he's faced with any challenge and say, this is nothing compared to what I just did today. Josh makes me proud every single day. He's a phenomenal son. I think for me, the legacy that I could leave behind for Josh and the kids is that hard work is important. You just got to keep on pushing on.
Awesome experience being with my dad on the course. The most important thing I've learned from my dad is to always be yourself and push through hard times. You gotta fight back and know that there's brighter times ahead. I will remember this until I get older, and then I can do it with my kids.
That was tough stuff. Yeah, it was.
After months of racing, Spartan's elite gather to celebrate countless hours of training, competing, and the blood, sweat, and tears poured into the first ever Spartan US Championship Series. It is this group that has elevated the sport to new heights, leaving a legacy for generations to come.
And now, your women's champion, Lindsay Webster.
Winning this series took a little bit of time to sink in. It feels pretty amazing. I don't know if I'm the best in the sport yet. We'll see at World Championships.
Arguably the closest and greatest battle between three athletes that our sport has ever seen. Your champion, Ryan Atkins.
I think the fact that coming into every race, it was, anybody's game really speaks to the level of the athletes competing, and it's really cool to be a part of that. There's been a lot of hard battles, and for it to all come together and for me to take the victory, it's just awesome. It's a euphoric feeling.
With a US Championship Series now behind them, Spartan Elite set their sights on the 2016 Spartan World Championship race in Tahoe, California.
We've had, our appetizers, and now we're ready for the main course.